All right, guys, we've got a little extra light here. We're out for a walk, Saskatchewan Drive, and I am thinking about the word sober. And when we use this word, what do we mean? You know, I've used this word for 6 years to describe my recovery, and I'm no longer using alcohol, drugs, and gambling. And so sobriety sort of describes something I am, but maybe also something that I'm not doing. But we use this word sober also in our regular nomenclature, don't we? Right? Because, you know, let's say someone's dating someone and they're spending all kinds of great time with them and they're getting really connected and all the emotions are flowing. And they want to decide, oh, maybe I should move in with this person, or maybe I should commit to a more serious relationship with them. And we kind of want our friends to be sober, right? Sober. So what does that mean when we use that word? Because on the one hand, it means, hey, I'm not drinking, I'm not influencing myself. On the other hand, it means taking some space from an emotional situation, right? You know, I mean, we use it all the time, like make sure you're of sober mind, right? It's literally written into legal documents. It's written to, like, in some of the Catholic Church's teachings, the word shows up, right? And so I was thinking about it, and I'm like, what has sobriety given me? You know, and in this journey of sharing my story and releasing my trauma and, you know, inspiring people, hopefully inspiring myself, I'm seeing all the things it's given me. You know, I had a video about how it gave me my second birthday with my niece Maggie, who's my, you know, the oldest relative in my life, my closest oldest relative, who's only seen Uncle Mike sober, right? And then I said it gave me my relationships with my sister back, and my relation, and that, I mean, I could cry about that, right? I've hurt I know how much I've hurt my sister over the years with just the uncertainty of me being healthy through my dad's accident and through my behavior and just not being available to help as much when dad was sick because I had my DUI and I had all these things, right? And my mom, getting my relationship with my mom back and better than ever, really. And sobriety's given me all these things. It's given me peace, right? But really, when we connect what I say when I say I'm sober, or people say you're sober, with the legal definition and with your friends, or you have a friend who's dating a girl and you're like, hey, take a week's space, you know, and then make sure you're making a sober decision. What are we really saying? And here's what I think we're saying. I think we're saying, make sure that you're truly yourself. Right? So make sure that you're calm, you're in the moment, in the present moment, and you're actually yourself. And so I would say sobriety has actually given me myself back. And better than ever. I'm really just meeting myself on this journey. But whenever we use that word, I think that's what we actually mean. Is make sure you're sober when you make a big life decision. Well, what does it mean? It means, well, don't be caught up in too much excitement, and don't be in anxiety, and don't be in fear. Take a moment and just be yourself. Is what I think that's what's underpinning that, or that's what the real meaning is. And so I think that's tied so deeply, like me being in becoming whole and healing and going through a recovery process to recover who I used to be. And I'm noticing it show up now where I'm meeting myself in this journey. But that's what the word sober really means. So it's not like something, oh, you're sober as in you're, you know, completely in control of your addictions. It's actually deeper. It's like a gateway. Sobriety is the gateway to recovering who you really are. And then that person that you really are is potentially someone that you've been escaping for a long time. And you don't even know you've been escaping it, right? Right? You're escaping maybe how, like, you know, I've said before, right? Trauma from childhood where your needs weren't met, and then you were scared to be yourself as you got into your teenage years and your adult years. And for some people, that's just a pattern of less than optimal behavior and maybe some self-sabotage. but they on the outside, they still look okay. For other people, it's a more extreme form of addiction, right? Where they're escaping all that pain and they're suffering. And so back to sobriety. Sobriety is really just like, really, wouldn't we want everyone to have that? You know? So it's not something that you aren't. It's sort of something that you are. And you're yourself. And you're starting to make decisions and you're starting to trust yourself. Right? Because that's the other part of sobriety. You know, you have the friend who's in the relationship. He's really connecting with the new girl, or the girl's really connecting with the new guy. And you're like, hey, just make sure you're yourself. That's what we're saying when we say, stand back and be sober in your decision making. How beautiful would it be if we all were able to more freely just be us? You know, and what does that look like? Well, it looks like meeting the needs that we have ourselves at the start. You know, the needs that weren't met when you were a kid, or that aren't being met in relationships, or aren't being met in friendships or at work. How can you meet them yourself? And obviously this is abstract, like it's not that every need you have can be, I mean, we need our communities too. But can you give it to yourself? I've told the story before. My friend Maria, who I love her, she keeps coming up. She's such a wonderful person in my life. But I had been, a year or two ago, I was interacting with this girl. We spent some time together, and this girl would call me all the time, and but we never could make a plan, you know. And I was just so anxious about the whole thing. And I was talking to her about it, and she was like, "Hey, stop, Michael, stop." And she's good at that. She's like, "Stop what you're saying. Listen to yourself talk." She's like, "What did you hope you would get from her? And how can you give that to yourself?" Because ultimately, for us in our lives, this is all self-development. This is Tony Robbins. This is psycho-cybernetics. This is Brené Brown. Like, all of the stuff you've read gets back to, okay, wait, what can you do for you? You know? Because then if you do it for you, then you can do it for other people, or other people can do it for you once you do it. Maybe it's that, right? Once you give yourself the things that the true you needs, other people can understand that love language, let's call it, for lack of a better term, and then they can give it to you too. Because if you're not your true self, you don't really know what you need. So you got to find your true self to know what you truly need, and then that opens you up to also receiving it from the world around you and from other people. And this has been my experience, is that I'm meeting new people, I'm having conversations and talking about things and making connections that are on a different type of level than they used to be. And I have long-term friendships in my life that are on that level, but I'm gaining some faster connections now. And you can tell sort of right away when people are kind of receiving you and interacting with you, because I know what I need and who I am. Now, do I know 100% who I am? Hey, I'm on a romantic journey to continue to meet me, and I'm actually really excited about, like, what's that going to look like when I'm 40, when I'm 45, when I'm 50, when I'm this like aged wine Michael, aged cigar Michael. What does he continue to look like? And I get to keep meeting myself authentically, vulnerably, freely, etc. So back to the point, sobriety. Sobriety is really you being you. When you get down to it, think about it, right? When you tell your friend, hey, make sure you're sober when you do something, it's really saying, make sure you're you. You're not in anxiety, which is in the future that doesn't exist. You know, you're not in too much excitement, because excitement can be good. Excitement is mostly good, right? It's mostly a good thing. But you just take a breath and you're yourself. That's what it means to be sober. So maybe for the past 6 years, I've just been slowly becoming myself and recovering who I used to be and who I beautifully am now. And there's one last final point I want to make. And I'd like to do another video on this. But there's a Japanese word, kitsuji, and I'm not saying it right, kitsuji. But the concept is that if you break something, like say you break a really nice vase, you drop it on the ground, you smash it to pieces. The idea is that when you glue it back together and put it back into a whole completed piece, it's actually more beautiful and greater than what it used to be. And I think that's me right now. And when I say I think, I mean, I know that's me right now. That because of the brokenness of the trauma, I have now become something more beautiful than who I used to be. So, sober. That's what it means. That guy's letting out his personality through his bike, if you heard it in the background. I'm over on Sass Drive. But sober means allowing yourself to just be yourself. Sobriety. Sober Open Mic.